Now, I'm not one to gossip, but I will bring you the tea. Welcome to Chronicle Speaks.
So the sentencing of Sean P. Diddy Combs is set for tomorrow, and I'm telling you right now, this one already has Bad Boy Productions written all over it. Word is a short film, 15 minutes to be exact, will be shown before the court straight from Diddy's camp. Not only that, Judge Subramanian is suggesting that it may take more than a day for this sentencing hearing. And get this, last week we had a video speaking about the endless character letters that was sent on Diddy's behalf. Well, guess what? Now there's been more uploaded. I know Judge Subramanian is sitting there like,
there's so many of them. What it's gonna do?
and you wouldn't believe who wrote a letter on Diddy's behalf. Gina. Yes, that Gina.
Damn it, Gina! Now I'm mad.
In this letter, she admits, yes, I was cooperating with the government. Yes, I gave them plenty of information.
I've been tricked.
Gina says she was pressured to feel like a victim, although she wasn't one. She did not show up to court. You remember she went AWOL. However, Gina attributes her not showing up to trial because her attorney told her she didn't have to because she wouldn't be called to the stand. Then we have a letter of support from the chaplain of the Miami Beach Police Department. Not the chaplain, Chad. But wait, there's more. Diddy already has a class scheduled next week, October 6th, to teach incarcerated and formerly incarcerated individuals his free game class. But did he get a memo we didn't get? Because I didn't know he already knew he was getting out. Now we have Mia, someone who worked for Diddy in a staff capacity, helping to manage his day-to-day tasks, travels, and events. Now at one point, she even gave him a book that she created for his birthday that highlighted all of his accolades, things he's done during his lifetime. But during trial, Mia testified that she too was a victim of his, both physically and unfortunately sexually. Now, while proof of those allegations was never substantiated or proven in court, prosecutors are pushing for Mia to appear at the sentencing hearing, giving a victim statement. Diddy's team, of course, is completely against that. We've got a lot to unpack today. That was just a little bit of it. We're going to get into that and so much more, but before we do, please be sure to subscribe to this channel and hit the bell for notifications so you don't miss out on any news regarding this case and so much more. Now let's get back into it. So first and foremost, the judge has permitted Diddy to wear his normal clothing. At sentencing tomorrow, he does not have to wear his orange jumpsuit. A lot of people were thinking if he allows him to wear his own clothing, then this may be a good indication that Diddy may be getting out, but I don't really think so. So we all know there was a Rule 29, basically an acquittal filed on Diddy's behalf, and Diddy pretty much argued that prostitution should only mean a bilateral exchange. Basically, the same person paying also has sex, and that the transporter, him, must have a financial motive. The judge said no. The correct definition is simply sex for money or its equivalent, which is a definition the court already used and which Combs himself originally proposed. Now, the law doesn't require the defendant, Combs, to have a financial motive, only that the people transported engaged in prostitution. The judge also says prostitution doesn't have to be strictly bilateral. It could be brothels, a third party. Payments still count. Then there was this constitutional argument. Combs argued that applying the Mann Act this way was unconstitutional. It was vague, it had federal overreach, and it violated due process, free speech, etc. The judge dismissed these arguments, saying it's not vague. Paying escorts to have sex across state lines clearly falls within prostitution, and this was not a due process violation. The Supreme Court has never recognized prostitution as a protected liberty, and this is not a federalism issue. The Mann Act has always criminalized interstate prostitution. And even if these escorts called themselves entertainers, the jury reasonably inferred sex for money was the true arrangement. So the acquittal was denied because the law clearly covers what Combs did, paying for sex across state lines. The evidence was strong enough for any reasonable jury to convict, and his constitutional objections didn't apply. And the new trial was denied because the jury proved that they weren't biased because there were split verdicts, and the government's case on the Mann Act counts was solid without the other charges. The judge concluded that letting the verdict stand is not a miscarriage of justice. So that all brings us to where we are now, with sentencing being tomorrow. Diddy's team is looking for a 14-month sentence, while the prosecution is looking for about 11 years. So what all do we have to look forward to tomorrow? Well, according to attorney Brian Steele, who also represented Young Thug in the YSL trial, there will be 4 members of Combs' defense team that plan to address the honorable court at the sentencing tomorrow. There will also be an approximate 15-minute video, which is being finalized at this time, which will be played for the honorable court. Once the video is in the final form, Diddy's team will share with the prosecution prior to the sentencing. Then we have Mia. She was an employee of Diddy that stated she worked long hours for Mr. Combs. However, she alleged that he did take advantage of her sexually, something that Diddy and his team denied. Now Mia wants to get up before the court during Diddy's sentencing to plead her case, pretty much let everyone know what he did to her and why he does not need to get out. Diddy's team is like, look, she already used a false name, she had a false voice. Ultimately, everything that came out of this woman's mouth is a lie. She's not a victim. She had adult consensual sexual contact with Mr. Combs on a handful of occasions.
Well, shit.
Diddy's team is like, look, she came during trial. We were able to cross-examine her then. The jury obviously didn't believe her because Diddy wasn't convicted of any of those things. However, we do not agree with her getting up again, spewing lies, but now in front of everyone during his sentencing. Stop trying to tarnish this man's character. This is what they're saying. The prosecution is saying crime victims have rights to be heard at sentencing, even if someone does not meet the strict definition of a statutory victim of the charges that resulted in a conviction. The judge has broad discretion to allow them to speak. So Judge Subramanian has granted the government's request, meaning Mia will be allowed to speak at the sentencing. Mia will be permitted to give a short, around 5-minute statement at sentencing. However, the judge made clear that her credibility can be challenged by the defense, but that doesn't block her from being heard. So now we have a letter from Gina Huynh. You remember she was allegedly victim number 3. The government was looking forward to her coming in and testifying. At first, she was going under the pseudonym Jane Doe. Then she said, forget it. I want my name to show. I'm not afraid. I'm about that life.
Have you seen her? Tell me, have you seen her?
When it came time for trial, Gina was like, psych, gotcha, bitch. Gina did not show up, and everybody was like, oh, he done got to her too. Gina says this, Dear Judge Subramanian, I know you are sentencing Sean Combs on Friday, and I have been thinking a lot about it. I saw in the press letters were submitted by many concerning the sentencing. No one asked me or told me to write this letter, but I felt my voice should be heard as I was identified as victim 3 in this case, and I understand charges were brought concerning me, including accusations of sex trafficking and prostitution. I cooperated fully with prosecutors. I met with them 3 times, answered their questions, and gave all the information and evidence I had, including pictures, videos, and text messages from my phone. During those meetings, I felt pressured to feel like a victim. I told them I was not, but they insisted that I was, even when I expressed my truth otherwise. I understand they concluded that I had been sex trafficked and involved in forced prostitution. I did not agree with that conclusion. I was not trafficked. I did not engage in prostitution with him or others. It would have been my testimony if called to the stand. I was subpoenaed and fully prepared to testify and answer all questions truthfully, but I was informed by my lawyer that I would not be called to take the stand. I want to emphasize that I understand the seriousness of this case and the pain others may feel. I cannot speak for anyone but myself. In terms of sentencing, I kindly ask that you consider releasing him back to his family. I understand through the process he has been cooperating and respectful, including turning himself in. During this process, he has never once reached out to me or made me feel uncomfortable in any way. I believe he will continue to be compliant with the court's conditions upon release. I understand that accountability is important, and I am not writing this to dismiss the gravity of the charges nor to criticize anyone. I write to express my perspective as a so-called victim. I write to express how I feel during the investigation and trial and how I feel now wanting to hear the sentence. I feel compelled to share my own perspective honestly. I respectfully ask that you take my words into consideration when making your decision. Thank you for your time and for allowing me to be heard. Sincerely, Gina Huynh. So on to this next letter. This letter was written by Giovanni Saris, who is an executive director of Reentry One Incorporated, which is a nonprofit organization in Miami that focuses on reducing recidivism and helping incarcerated or formerly incarcerated individuals successfully reenter society. So I'm not going to read this letter, but I will tell you pretty much what it's saying. So Giovanni is vouching for Sean P. Diddy Combs, saying that Combs has an important role to play in their reentry mission. The letter emphasizes that Combs has experience, influence, and credibility, which can be powerful tools to reach people impacted by incarceration. So Combs will pretty much be teaching a class a lot like the class that he's been teaching already at the Metropolitan Detention Center. He would teach both virtually and in person. And the courses are scheduled bi-weekly to monthly for 75 to 100 incarcerated participants per session. Combs already has a class scheduled at the Miami North Work Release Center on Monday, October 6, 2025 at 7 o'clock p.m. Now that's next Monday. Now I know when my kids schedule stuff with their other friends and then they ask me, can they go? It's a no for me. I don't know whose idea this was, but the judge could possibly view it as arrogance or a lack of humility. Diddy's already assuming that he won't face serious time, and the judge wants to see acceptance of responsibility and respect for the process. If it comes off like he's minimizing what's happened, then that could weigh against him. You remember right after his trial and the RICO charges went away, Diddy was like, I'm coming home, baby. Diddy just knew he was coming home. He tried to get bail and the judge had to tell him,
Sit your $5 ass down before I make change.
I'm not really sure how this will end, but I've seen it time and time before in this courtroom with this judge. Do not play on Judge Subramanian's top. What I need to do is hear from you. What do you think about everything going on with this sentencing? Do you feel like Diddy will get off? How much time do you think he will get? Leave a comment and you know how we do. We'll talk about it down below. Talk to you guys later. Bye. As always, thanks for watching. But before you go, don't forget to subscribe to this channel, like this video, and hit the bell so you don't miss out on any of our new episodes.